Hey everybody, my name is Che and I run Lounging Guitars on social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and all that stuff. And Fender just sent me this AVII 66 Jazzmaster that I am super stoked about. The single question I get asked most often is, what can I do to modify or upgrade my Jazzmaster? And for this model, the AVII, I don't think there's a lot to honestly upgrade. The guitar is really good. The neck feels amazing. It's really substantial in the hand. I love a big guitar neck. The pickups sound great. Honestly, I wouldn't swap those out. Here's a list of the things that I would upgrade or modify on this AVII 66 Jazzmaster. So first off, most of my modifications are aesthetic. I love a mint pickguard on a Jazzmaster. So I have this mint Jazzmaster pickguard. It's actually from Fender, and I have aged knobs and aged pickup covers, all available on Fender.com. And really the only thing I would upgrade on this one is the bridge. I have a very heavy right hand when I'm playing guitar. The threaded bridge just does not do it. When I'm picking really hard, when I'm strumming really hard, the strings pop out. The floating bridge starts leaning one way or the other because I go crazy with the Tremolo Arm. I don't have another bell rock bridge, but that's the one I would recommend from my friend Yaniv. I had an extra Mastery bridge, so I threw that on there. Mastery is an amazing bridge. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I just prefer the bell rock right now. Check them out, bellrockbridges.com. But a Mastery is amazing as well. And the pickups on here, they're just the AV65 pickups that come on this model. Other than that, I put heavier gauge strings on it. I use Ernie Ball Paradigm 11 to 48. I love feeling a good amount of tension from my strings, and when I bend up, when I do my pedal steel type bends, I love having a little bit of resistance to know how much I need to be bending. But other than that, I don't need to upgrade anything on this Jazzmaster. The only thing I really modified by bending a piece of metal is the Tremolo Arm that it came with. You notice I have two bends on this Tremolo Arm. It looks like a vintage Tremolo Arm from the 60s. So what I do is I take, here, let me pop this out. So I take the Tremolo Arm tip off, and then I have a workbench, a very chunky wooden workbench, and I drill a hole in it about the diameter of the Tremolo Arm, and I put the tip without the Tremolo Arm tip into the hole, and then right around where I want to make that second bend on here, depending on how far you want the bend to be, I just do it about an inch or half an inch past the threading. I put it into the hole that I drilled into my workbench side, and then I make the bend. I use it as a jig to make the bend, so it gets that nice 2-point bend. And then when I put the Tremolo Arm tip back on, I only put it on just to cover the thread. I don't go any further because I want a little more length out of my Tremolo Arm. So I'll put some super glue in the Tremolo Arm tip, and then put it in, just covering the threads of the Tremolo Arm tip right here. And then that'll give you another about half an inch to almost an inch of length. Take that as you will. And then the insertion tip, man, these terms for this Tremolo Arm. The insertion end of the Tremolo Arm, I want to slightly bend so that it's nice and tight in the collet. I do the same thing. I take the hole that I drilled into the side of my workbench, I put about an inch into that hole, and then I make the slightest, even an unnoticeable amount of bend on it, and then take it out. And when you put it in the Tremolo Arm, pop it in, it stays in place exactly where you use it. And there's no noise coming from it when you use it heavily. It works perfectly. And one thing that when you buy a Jazzmaster that you may not know is how much force you have to use to put the arm into the collet. Usually I'll put it in as far as it'll go, lay it flat on my lap, and with the chunky part of my palm over this part, I wiggle until you hear that little click. Then that's in there really tight. That's about all for the modifications that I'll do to this guitar. It just sounds and plays really well. I gave it a good setup. I oiled the fretboard because it looked a little dry, tuned it up, intonated it, and it plays great. I really love the mint guard that I have on here. I don't know if it's coming through on camera, and the aged pickup covers and knobs do a lot aesthetically for this guitar, in my humble opinion. The really white pickguard and really white pickup covers, it doesn't really do it for me. I love how it softens the colors with the mint guard and aged plastics. If you have an AV66 Jazzmaster that you modify the crap out of, man, leave me a comment, tell me about it. But I don't think this guitar actually needs any modification at all. If you don't mind the white pickguard and all that stuff, most of this stuff is purely aesthetic except for the bridge and the bending of the trem arm. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you feel so inclined. I'm going to try to be more active on YouTube and upload more often on just little thoughts that I have living inside my head that I never got on camera. So thanks for watching.